wash, and they also contain an enzyme called lysozyme that contains some antibacterial properties. So here's again where they empty through this nasal lacrimal sac down here. So when you cry, that's why your nose will run, because essentially the tears are emptying into your nasal cavity. You can have those blocked nasolacrimal ducts, like I said, inflamed mucosa, like a cold, or too much fluid production from emotional response, causing tears to spill over. Humans are the only ones that can have an emotional response to produce tears. The 3 layers of the eyeball, they're called the tunics, okay? We've got a fibrous tunic, a vascular, and a nervous tunic. So the outside layer includes the white part of the eye, called the sclera, and extending to the front extension of the sclera, called the cornea, which is transparent though. The vascular tunic inside to that, which is composed of the choroid, ciliary body, and the iris, the cloudy portion of the eye, and the inner layer is the retina. The cornea, even though you can't see it, very important. It helps refract the light to the right spot in the retina. Actually, 75% of the refraction of light because of your cornea. It's avascular, so no blood vessels. You ever heard of LASIK? They trim or essentially perform surgery on the cornea, which is kind of cool to watch. Maybe we can find a video of that. The sclera gives the eyeball its shape and protects the other anatomical parts. The middle tunic, the choroid has a lot of melanocytes, so it's the concentrated melanin. And then, of course, the extension of that is the iris, of course, is the colored portion of your eye that is rich in melanin. The more melanin you have, the darker your eye. The ciliary body, which I'll show you in a bit here, but specifically the ciliary process part of it produces an aqueous fluid that fills the anterior part of the eye. The muscle can change shape to change the shape of the lens, to adapt to near and far vision. And the iris consists of muscles, two different types of muscle fibers that help change the shape of the pupil. So first, we're on the tunic. I was going to say something about the choroid. The choroid, anything with melanin in it, the melanin helps absorb that light and help the light from bouncing around in the back of the eye. So if somebody lacks melanin, like somebody that has albinism, they lack melanin in their hair, their eyebrows, absent of color, including their eyes. So light will scatter actually in their eyeball due to the lack of melanin. And this can damage the eye, obviously, so that's where they have to wear sunglasses outside always. It hurts. You can actually see their eye kind of bouncing around. So the inner layer is the retina. It contains melanin also. And it allows light to be absorbed rather than scattered along with the choroid. Okay. And generally, the lighter your eyes are, the less melanin you have, meaning you need to protect your eyes more so if you have lighter eyes. Wear sunglasses. Continuing on with the retina. If you look through your pupil to the back of the eye, you would see the retina. And all its glorious vascular beauty, it has blood vessels. The exact center of the retina, going back straight to the eye, is called the macula lutea, and I'm probably saying that wrong. With the center and a little depression called the fovea centralis, concentrated region of cones in that area. To the side of that is the optic disc, which we'll talk about here. We can view the retina, or eye doctor can view it with a ophthalmoscope, looking for any diseases or pathological changes in the eye. You can detect high blood pressure from looking at the retina because you can see arteries back there, diabetes, things like that. It's the only place in the body where arterial vessels can be viewed without opening the body, which, in my opinion, is pretty cool. The optic disc, like you can see at the back of the retina, is the area where the optic nerve and the retinal vessels enter and exit the eyeball. So in this area, there's no cones or rods which sense light. Ooh, it went dark. Good timing. But normally our brain does a pretty good job for correcting for this blind spot with our bilateral vision, using the two eyes to view things in quick muscle movements. And this we did in the lab, but it's a little test to show where the distance where your blind spot actually exists. And if you've been driving for a while, you know the blind spot exists, and you need to check and recheck when you're merging lanes or crossing to another lane in traffic or going to turn. The reason for it is the blind spot. So continuing on with the anatomy of the eye, the two type of photoreceptor cells that detect the presence of light, rods and cones. And they're distributed differently in the retina, and then they detect different things. So the rods are abundant in the peripheral vision, and cones more in the central area, the fovea centralis. There's a lot more rods too. 120 million rod-shaped photoreceptors. They're adapted to low light thresholds, so when it's dark, they are more active. They produce black and white images or different variances of gray. As you age, you actually lose rods as you age, so it makes it more difficult to drive at night. I hate driving at night because I'm getting old, I guess. All right, cone-shaped are the color photoreceptors, function in bright light, high resolution color images. 3 varieties: red, green, or blue, corresponding to what pigment they contain. Concentrate in the outer segment of the receptor, while the inner segment contains nucleus and organelles. That's not that important. The lens kind of reminds me of a little marble in that anterior portion of the eye. It's also avascular. Here we can see the cornea. It's a refractory structure, so it helps refract that light back towards the retina. It can change shape. We'll talk about that. It's transparent. And it's attached to the eye via this extension of the ciliary body called the ciliary muscle, and suspensory ligaments right here that can be pulled to change the shape of that lens. The lens divides the eyeball into the anterior and the posterior cavity. The anterior cavity is divided into anterior and posterior chambers right here, and they're filled with aqueous humor, this fluid that's produced down here and flows in this direction. I have a good image of that somewhere. The posterior cavity is full of another liquid called vitreous chamber or vitreous body. It's more jelly-like, and its job to help hold the retina against the choroid. Kind of important, because if that retina comes off, blind. There are, you ever seen like specks floating across your eye, debris? You actually have phagocytic cells that come in and take care of those things. They're not usually a big deal, harmless. Here's a picture of what the cow eye looks like that we'll dissect. You can see the iris, the pupil, the ciliary muscles, shiny choroid, etc. The eye needs to constantly receive oxygen, and it gets there through the lens and the cornea. So contacts, if you wear contacts, they go right on the surface of the cornea, right they need to be able to breathe to oxygen as well. And the fluid within the eye maintains a certain pressure, interocular pressure, and that pressure is important to help keep the eyeballs inflated. The vitreous humor in the back of the eye doesn't get replaced, but the aqueous humor fluid gets replaced every 90 minutes. And if that pressure changes in the eye, it can produce something called glaucoma. Aqueous humor. I told you before, it's produced at the ciliary body, and it empties in this area called the venous sinus. So you can see here it's produced and it flows up this way. This is still in the anterior part, and it drains out of this sinus. And there's the glaucoma. If you have overproduction, it may increase that pressure, and glaucoma can lead to degeneration of the eye function. We're going to stop here for right now, and I'll continue the rest at a later time.